Welcome to the first Racket Boy Talking Hands video. These are the hands and voice of Fast Billy. If you're like me, you have a large collection of retro gaming adapters. My first was the Super Smart Joy, which was an excellent device. Just takes a single Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, takes it to USB. Worked great until we hit 64-bit OSs. No longer works. I also picked up a retro USB, NES to USB. Another great device. This is the Bliss-Box 3-in-1 PC, which is Saturn, PS2, and Dreamcast. One of each to USB. He still works great. This is a Mayflash Classic linker. You may see him on Amazon. He pops up all the time to you. Classic controller to USB. But sometimes you need the Super Joybox 5 Pro, who takes 4 PS2 to USB. Now that's a whole bunch of adapters that adapt a whole bunch of controllers. They all work, but they have quirks. As I mentioned earlier, the Super Smart Joy no longer works on 64-bit OSs. The Super Joybox 5 Pro, if you have him plugged in when you boot your computer, it blue screens. Nobody knows why, it just does it, every single time. So what if we took all of these devices off the table? What if we combined them into one device that doesn't have these issues? It mounts as a HID, or human interface device, so it'll work on your Raspberry Pi, all versions of Windows, Linux, Mac, your PS3, your Ouya or Ouya. My buddy Uyalao sent me this device that he created. This is a beta build of the Bliss-Box 4Play. It does all that and more. Alright, so it's not a huge device. You know, it's about the size of a deck of cards. You know, easy. Or if you need a better, there's a CD case, or in this case a cue card. What it does do is it's got a USB 2, it's got a power in case you want to do rumble on every controller. It's going to have a reset button for system setups later. And then it's got 4 HDMI ports. I mean, it's got a lot of power in the little box. And I know what you're thinking. HDMI ports. My controllers aren't HDMI. They're a whole bunch of different plugs. Well, that's where the brilliance of this is. The brains are in the box. Everything else is in the dongles. These are all new parts that go down to HDMI. So they all plug in, they're hot swappable. These are just a handful of the availables. There's about 15 available right now that covers like 40 consoles, because you have the brilliance of the DB9, which a lot of stuff used. But there you can see there's PlayStation, Super Nintendo, 64, Classic Controller, GameCube, and Dreamcast. And these just work as simple as you would think. You just plug it in. Since it mounts as a human interface device, in this case we'd be ready to go with the Dreamcast. Simple, easy, quick, universal. That's really what this is. It doesn't break a whole lot of new ground. The ground it does break is incredible. But it does everything other adapters did in one small package very quickly and 100%. It even supports things that most adapters don't. Now this is a Hori mini pad. It's a 64 controller. It came out late in the lifespan. It's got a GameCube-like joystick, huge with Smash Brothers players. Does not work on most N64 adapters. The C right, C down, they're always hit. So it's useless. But it works flawlessly in the Bliss-Box 4Play. I mean, other things like this is going to support data going back and forth to the controllers, meaning things like if you have a VMU or any controller that takes a memory card should work. Now, it doesn't work 100% right now. It can be updated to be added in later. Other things like the GBA link cable. Once the emulators support it, it'll be able to send data back and forth to the controller. Vectrix 3D Imager, that's another one. Apparently, according to Uyalao, the Imager works, but I didn't get an adapter for it, so I couldn't test it. Mine's sitting in a box over there. But it also supports pressure sensitivity for your PS2, which is not a huge deal, but when you think about it, that's something that nobody's ever gotten right yet. Again, it's like the Hori mini pad. It's just something that nobody's done correctly that now works perfectly. Simple, easy. You know what? Let me just stop talking about it and show it to you in action. Alright, as you can see here, we're playing Mario 64 on a run-of-the-mill HP laptop. The 64 ROM was dumped from the cartridge in front of it. We have a standard N64 controller hooked up to the 4Play using the dongle. 4Play's hooked up through USB 2. And everything works fine, it's just going. I apologize if you don't hear the sound effects. The sound is set low, so you can still hear my amazing voice. But you can see here, he runs around, everything works, you can still creep, You can crawl. Alright, so let's see how this works. We're going to unplug him. Automatically pauses. Move the 64 controller out of the way. We're going to grab a run-of-the-mill Super Famicom or Super Nintendo. It unpauses and maps. Now, the buttons are a little weird because they're mapped for the other controller. Again, there's going to be some things like that when you swap, nothing that a quick jump to the settings can't fix. So I don't have a Z button, so I don't have that option. But everything works. You'll notice he's always running because this is a digital D-pad instead of an analog stick. So there's no finite control. He's just going to keep running. So, you know, that's not a huge deal. Let's unplug it. Put that to the side. Let's grab ourselves something a little bit more exotic. A Dreamcast controller. Dreamcast is plugged in. Give it a second to hook up. And we're off and running. Oh, still no Z button. But it's working. Alright, well let's take the Dreamcast out. Put him over there. We'll grab a run-of-the-mill PS2. PS2's in. Analog lit up. And you have your finite control here. He's jumping. He's punching. Alright, so I screwed up on mapping the Z button because no other controller has it. Alright. That's 4 controllers from a good spread. Let's go with a more modern. That's a Wii Classic Controller Plus. I apologize for the black on white, so you can't make them out. You know, that's run-of-the-mill, came with Monster Hunter, GoldenEye, all that. There we go. You can see the finite analog, the very good analog. The fact that I still screwed up the Z button. But Mario runs around. No big deal. Let's go for something else. Alright, he's done. Off on the side. Here's a launch GameCube controller. Plugged them in. And we're off and running. Hey. Nope. Now let's see if we can do something even crazier. This is a Wico command stick for the Atari. But I don't think he's going to work because the buttons don't map correctly because there's only a button and a slider is how this is detecting. Ah, he's moving. Golly, you gotta work out for this guy. So I can jump and I can punch. Let's see if I can beat a level. Nope. But you know what? At the end of the day, he's unplugged. I hit some sort of setting. And we're going to go back to the mini pad because it's something that's never worked properly. And he doesn't want to. Again, it's a beta build of the product. Some things don't work. But there you go. It worked on everything else in one swoop. You saw how fast it moved. I mean, nothing I've ever used, and as you've seen, I've used a lot of adapters. I own probably 40 of them. This is the best one. I will be selling every other adapter I have to get this. I mean, it's amazing. It's small, it's tiny. There he is. Again, deck of cards. This, I mean, I've been playing games all my life. This is the single best piece of hardware I've ever gotten the ability to play with. I mean, you just saw everything in one go. The only hiccup was the mini pad. I mean, it works. I beat Shadows of the Empire with it earlier, but for whatever reason it didn't want to work right now. That's probably because we're filming. You also saw my face a couple times. But that's it. It's currently on Kickstarter. I highly, highly recommend going to do this. First, let me apologize for this abrupt cut and degradation of video. Originally, this was supposed to end with that last clip, but shortly after I ended, I discovered the option I hit when I put the Wico stick down before hooking up the mini pad. unmounted the control system somehow, so that's why the mini pad didn't work. So here's some quick footage of me playing GoldenEye very poorly with a green mini pad so you can actually see it. This is just to showcase that the mini pads do work fully, because that's actually a big deal to some people. Like I said previously, this is simply the best piece of fan-made hardware I've ever used. Highly recommend it, and can't wait to get my hands on the final build of the product. To be perfectly honest, I've been using it more to play PC games than emulating. WizOrb with Atari paddles is pretty awesome. Towerfall with Super Nintendo controllers is simply perfect. I would really like to thank Ulau and Adam of the Bliss-Box team for letting me borrow this build, Kevin MacLeod for his amazing music that we're using in the background, and of course you, the viewer. These have been the hands and voice of Fast Billy. Thank you for your time.